Quite excited to be on for another season to show you the whole road.
Listen, new adventures. Slim, get fluffy. That's cool, let's go. We're not going out, you know. Things are only getting hotter and hotter this season.
Click, click, pow, that must tell you something.
There's a great story happening just in our backyard. We are on the Holy Road again.
Jamaicans, including those who don't have letters to their name or who hold high office, have been complimentary of the presentation by Faithful Williams as she opened the budget debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. She spoke about a pathway to legal light for thousands of Jamaicans who steal electricity from the Jamaica Public Service Company. She also had good news tomorrows from the Students' Loan Bureau, and of course, the big one of all, she spoke about that lifting, that raising of the income tax threshold. So what do the analysts think? Well, this evening I get the views of two of them to what the Finance Minister outlined in her presentation on Tuesday. The clock on the wall says it's time, and I'm obeying the clock on the wall. Let's start the show. So the 25-26 budget debate is underway. The Finance Minister opened proceedings in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, and she had the attention of many Jamaicans. To go by the social media interactions, there were many people watching as she went through the various aspects of the presentation, and the feedback followed immediately as she highlighted the points that she thought were most pertinent to Jamaicans in terms of what the JLP administration intends to do over the course of the next fiscal year. Of course, that's dependent on what happens largely later this year when we go to the general election. Of course, the fiscal year starts on April 1. Just before we go into the discussion, though, for those who came in late, what were the highlights of the Finance Minister's presentations, and what were some of the announcements that would have caused most Jamaicans to stop and listen?
History was made yesterday when Harvard-educated Faithful Williams made her budget presentation debut as Jamaica's first woman finance minister. Tasked with advising the nation of what's in its purse, how it will be spent, and from where it will come with a looming general election, Williams also had some big shoes to fill. But she made the presentation her own, sharing each point and tooting the Jamaica Labour Party's horn at her own pace, all while giving credit to her rural upbringing. The budget tabled totaled $1.3 trillion, comprising $1.197 trillion for recurrent expenditure and $62.6 billion for capital expenditure, which according to Williams will be funded with $949.5 billion of tax revenues, $139.8 billion of non-tax revenues, $812 million of bauxite levy, and $5.96 billion of grants. Now, what were the main highlights from Minister Williams' presentation? Well, the government continues its efforts to adjust the pay-as-you-earn PAYE income tax threshold. Since 2016, the threshold has seen increases, moving from $792,800 to $1,272,000, then to $1.5 million in 2017, and further to $1.7 million in the 2024-25 fiscal year. Meanwhile, 20,000 new customers joining the Jamaica Public Service Company prepaid program will be assisted due to a $1 billion allocation the government says it has included in the budget. The provision will also aid in covering the cost for house wirings and inspection, a move aimed at formalizing illegal connections. And on the matter of education financing, the government, through the Student Loan Bureau, has expanded the student loan repayment period to 10 years for new SLB beneficiaries starting the September 2025 school year. So, did Minister Williams hit the mark, or is it more complex than that? We discuss on Lead Story. Courtney Lewis for Lead Story.
Thank you, Courtney. After the break, the analysts react.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. So let me get right to the two gentlemen. Dr. Christian Stokes, beg your pardon, is with me. Christian Stokes is with me, and lecturer at the Department of Government at the UWI, Damian Gordon. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Christian, forgive me for the Adrian slip.
No, it's okay. He's a good man.
I know he's a good chap. Let me start with Damian. Damian, from what you saw and heard and would have read over to firm up some things in your own mind, assess the finance minister's presentation for me from Tuesday.
All right. So going into the presentation, there were concerns about whether or not she could rise to the level of astuteness as her predecessor. I think it may not have been the most spirited or energetic delivery. However, I think that she delivered a credible performance. I've always said that a good budget presentation by a finance minister is one that strives for balance. One that recognizes that the country, for example, is going through a process of macroeconomic restructuring. And it's important for us to consolidate those gains that we have made. I mean, that program would have started under the previous administration, and they would have continued that program to the extent that our debt to GDP ratio is now down to around 70%, which means that we have more or less free up the fiscal space to, undertake more development-oriented spending and investment, which is very, very important. Unemployment levels continue to trend down. That is also very positive. But at the same time, the balance is very important in the sense that a budget ought not to only emphasize austerity. There must be something in it for ordinary Jamaicans. I think every ordinary Jamaican who watches a budget presentation asks him or herself, what is in it for me? And therefore, that balancing act is important. To that extent, there were things announced that intend to deliver positive benefits for different cross-sections of the Jamaican society. The announcement of a $4,000 credit for prepaid customers of JPS. The announcement that the repayment period of student loan borrowers will be extended to 10 years. The increase of the income tax threshold to $2 million on a phased basis. the general announcement that there will be no new taxes again. Those are some of the highlights. I can't give the detailed economic analysis, but what I will touch on from my end is the politics of it and how people will receive a budget presentation. I think more or less Jamaicans have become accustomed to the pageantry and the fist pumping nature of budget presentations. Every year, the presenters seek to outdo each other. So I think that to that extent, I think the pronouncement and the announcements themselves will not necessarily move public opinion. I think what Jamaicans are more concerned about is the operationalization of the budget, the extent to which, over the next several months or so, they will begin to see tangible changes in their lives from the operationalization of the budget. So we'll see the extent to which people feel that, the things that are announced are having an impact on their day-to-day lives and how they interact with the economy and etc. So that is what I am looking for, more or less, in the coming months.
Hear you on that. Dr. Stokes, a budget by a finance minister is successful on a few important markers. Let me zero in on one marker. If it is that you can manage to give the public the impression that you are doing some things or you are going to do some things to cause them to have more money in their pockets, you're increasing their disposable income, then you would have been said to have done well. Did Favour Williams manage that on Tuesday?
Well, the short answer is yes, but it is, first of all, I have to say that for folks who have seen the finance minister in action, she was uncharacteristically bold. One would wonder if she would have the pizzazz that would have approached Dr. Clark, but let us remember, he himself learned how to do that. That is not his natural state.
Correct.
He learned how to present a budget in with that sort of flamboyant and that flair that Damian mentioned. So yes on that. But on the other hand, I think it's important that we remember that what she did was from a Labour Party boilerplate of budget presentation that has three parts that I'm able to discern. One is, under no circumstances are you going to rock fiscal stability. The budget was barely higher than last year's. It probably, inflation adjusted, was less than last year, right? So they're not going to do anything to increase debt or to destabilize the economy. That's the first thing. The second thing is they're going to have social safety net programs, and in that you can put things that what you just mentioned, deliver something to people. First of all, everybody's glad to hear no new taxes. Income tax threshold was important. The JPS initiative is important. And the third part that they always try to touch on is something to spur growth a little bit. And in this case, the only growth investment kind of thing I saw explicitly, well, I have to be careful when I say that because there's some interesting things on the micro market, but the big thing was a continued investment in human capital development through making it more affordable to attend university and qualify yourself, which inures to productivity going down the road. So those are the three aspects of the JLP, of the Labour Party template, and she certainly delivered on those.
Yeah. Damien, I want to hear you on this because a lot of the usual stuff has been chewed over already. So I want to put the tougher things to you capable gentlemen. That statement that she made about the fact of the fiscal rules allowing us to run a fiscal deficit, and the Prime Minister's advice to her, no, we're not going to do it because it will send the wrong signal to the market, and we want to keep the pace of debt reduction going. We want to stay the course. We don't want to vary, even though we have the room to do so. Was that more for show, or is it something that the nation should accept as a turning point in how our political leaders, regardless of which party is in office, see this thing of debt reduction to allow them to have more money to put into social programs and to do more things for the people? How should we view it?
So the way I look at it, not because we have more money to spend, that doesn't mean that we should just spend irresponsibly. We have to also ensure that what we're doing is sustainable. because we don't want to undo the gains that we have worked so hard to make, right? So I'm happy that there has been a commitment to avoid deficit spending, which is very, very important. So that in itself is for me an important element of the presentation. The thing is, I'm not quite sure how I receive it and how Chris Stokes and other Jamaica and even some of your friends in the media fraternity receive a budget presentation may not be the same way how average Jamaicans receive a budget presentation, because they don't understand these very complex terminologies, and you have to kind of explain to them what these things mean to them, for them, and how these things operate. What they see is how policies, how announcements, how public spending impact their lives, right? And I think that from the perspective of public opinion, I think that is the dominant concern of the public. All the technical matters related to ideas such as deficit spending, the need to maintain a balance between, spending and revenues, and all of those are good from the perspective of the technocrats. But from the perspective of average Jamaicans, I think they are less concerned about these things. They are more concerned about how announcements or pronouncements or public spending, or all of these things that are covered in what the presentation directly impact the quality.
And I'll agree with you. And I'll agree with you on that by saying that is why. Yes. I'll agree with you on that by saying that is why in a budget debate, form is as important as substance. Because definitely. You and I, the three of us, want the substance, but the people out there want to see the form as well. I'm going to take a break, gentlemen, and when I come back, I pick up the conversation. Thank you very much. Hold it and stay where you are. This is Lead Story here on CVM TV.
Episode 7.
Next Gen Impact International Ministries. I want to start it that way then.
We have to build that bridge to serve the community, maintaining some godly principles that will shift the next generation.
This is the first time we're doing an episode where the church is actually brand new.
I can't wait.
Make we head out and see what is in store.
Sports should be fun. Sports should be interesting. Sports should be entertaining. Sports should be riveting. This is CVM Sports. I'm Jordan Fort.
Rise with Sunrise. Start your morning right. First up, we head out of town for some breakfast. Then we'll get to the business of the budget debate in Money Masterclass. And we'll balance it all out with a little music. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
It was a very fantastic presentation in terms of the income tax threshold, increase in the income tax threshold, and also the reduction of the duty on newly imported vehicle, right? And of course, as she said, there are sufficient provision with regards to the unions in terms of salary negotiation and all of that, so it is very good.
Those who are in small business, the threshold is good for them because they don't have to start pay tax from that point where they used to pay from 1 point something, now it's gone to 2 point something, and it benefits to those persons. So I think she do a good job. She really do a good job for her first time as finance minister.
I think the finance minister did very well, more than I expected. I think that she's giving them a run for her money.
A very interesting presentation. It definitely opens up a lot of opportunities for people who might not have had disposable income, but now have the opportunity to see that extra in their savings accounts every month, whether it is for the supermarket, their bills, different stuff like that. Increasing the threshold and, doing different things, creating home ownership avenues and options for young people today. Those are things that help. So it's a lot of work that needs to be done financially, but it's a step in the right direction if you ask me.
Gentlemen, I want to turn to, as we heard the views of the public there, the issue of small businesses. The head of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Alliance, Antoinette Hamilton, says, look, she was disappointed because she didn't think there was much in the budget for her constituents. She says that, yes, the $2 billion from the DBJ to on-lend is there, but the details have to worked out, and that in itself is not sufficient. We know that the GCT threshold for them moves from 10 million to 15 million, but she says even with that and the DBJ $2 billion facility, it's not quite enough. I want to hear you, Dr. Stokes, on that. Do you think that there was enough for small, medium-sized enterprises in that presentation by the finance minister?
All right. So you're taking me down a road now that is going to betray my own thinking as an economist, which is that we may have different understandings of the role of the government in business development. All right. My view is that the government needs to do a couple of central. It needs to create a stable economy, right, which is important. It needs to have in place the things that fall under the ease of business things, which is how do you form a company, how do you get investors, private investors, not loans from the DBJ, private investors, and the Achilles heel in our systems. How do you feel, and not be in debt for the rest of life, but how do you feel the clear bankruptcy come out and can start again is important. And how do you make it easier to deal with business? Those are the things that I think government ought to be interested in.
Yes.
And let the market do what it needs to do. At the time of emancipation, around 1834, 20% of the currency in Jamaica was in the hands of the persons who were just then freed as slaves.
Yes.
We have a culture of entrepreneurship. What we need is for government to lay the field.
Yes.
And get out of the way and allow our small businesses to go forward. If there's a criticism, it is in how that field has been laid so far.
Yes. Damien, what say you on that? Antoinette Hamilton says not enough for her constituents, and she says she was left a bit disappointed.
Yes. So I can't offer a very nuanced economic perspective as Dr. Stokes can, because obviously I'm not an economist. But I can just generally speak about the historical approach of government towards micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. I have noted that over the years, the incentive structures that we've established to support the growth of businesses have generally favored the big corporations and foreign investors. And to a great extent, these businesses have felt that they've been unsupported by government as the focus of our, economic growth strategies emphasize attracting foreign direct investments. Yes. And offering, various incentives to get the big businesses to come here. And to that extent, small market size and medium-sized enterprises over the years have felt that government have not provided them with the support for them to, one, get a foot into markets, expand, adapt to new trends, become competitive. I think that there's a general feeling that greater support is needed from the state. I'm not sure what the exact support structure should look like. I think Dr. Stokes can elaborate on what that support structure should look like.
Yeah.
But that is just a general feeling among local and small businesses in general.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Dr. Stokes, time is running out on us, but I have to put this one to you. Perhaps it is that over the course of the next fiscal year, and of course the election will determine which party goes on to implement policies long term. But if the JLP is planning to be there and they put their plan on the table, that's what we're discussing. Perhaps it is that this pathway to legal light for 20,000 Jamaicans will benefit from the $4,000 credit. It could turn out to be the most significant thing in terms of cash in hand of the ordinary man that this budget will deliver. What say you on that?
Right. When I said legal light, I wasn't sure which program I was on, but it was a hard way to
Not the two-time horse of the year, three-time Red Flag Super Stakes winner.
Yes, we had the lead story. Okay, so look, we have to be, and again, we have to be careful with this. There are persons now, throwing up wire, not paying anything, and going about the business. All right. And what the government is trying to do is to say, look, I'm going to put a prepaid meter in your house, wire your house. I'm going to give you $4,000 a month, which they say covers half of what your bill, should be for 6 months. After that, you're back on your own. You can't hide anymore because you've had a meter, even though it is prepaid. So it's a good thing, but really, and again, I understand the exigencies of the immediate political situation.
Yes,
but we need to get to a stage where persons are earning sufficiently, living in the kinds of accommodations where they can pay the light bill.
Yes.
That's what we need to be doing.
Yes.
Right? So I understand this, and you're giving out a little candy. It will run out one day. But in the meantime, we really need to apply ourselves as to why is electricity in Jamaica so expensive?
Yes.
Why is my income so low?
Yes.
Why is my house in such a condition that I can't even get electricity into my house safely?
Yes.
That's what we need to spend time on.
Yes. And Damien, last thing for you, as Julian Robinson prepares to lead the response for the opposition, based on what you've heard from Favour Williams, is there enough scope for Julian to present a credible set of alternatives to what the government has put on the table through the finance minister's speech?
Yeah. So the difficulty that Julian is faced is obviously the fact that he's presented after the finance minister has delivered our budget presentation, and therefore much of what he says will be perceived as, responses to our presentation, an attempt to outdo some of the things that she did for our presentation. So that's a risk that he runs as the presenting after the Minister of Finance. But what he equally needs to do is to provide clear, specific, and outline clear, specific priorities of his party. And not just a simple criticize and rebut, but provide clear, specific, measurable policy ideas that Jamaicans believe are feasible, they can buy into, that they believe can transform their lives, that fall within the realm of being responsible and sustainable, but at the same time intended to advance the social and economic conditions of ordinary Jamaican. He has to rise to that occasion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Dr. Stokes, Damien Gordon, thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm out of time. All the best to you. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good. That's my time. I make way now for the news at 7.
Episode 7.
Next Gen Impact International Ministries. I want to start it that way then.
We have to build that bridge to serve the community, maintaining some godly principles that will shift the next generation.
This is the first time we're doing an episode where the church is actually brand new.
I can't wait.
Make we head out and see what is in store.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Those happen right here. Those happen right here on CVM Television. Rise with Sunrise. Start your morning right. First up, we head out of town for some breakfast. Then we'll get to the business of the budget debate in Money Masterclass. And we'll balance it all out with a little music. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
You can open a Sagicor Bank savings account from anywhere. Go online and open yours today.
The time by Sagicor Bank is
7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of...
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, PricewaterhouseCoopers Jamaica weighs in on 2025-2026 budget. JSE hails women in leadership, and controversy looms over KSAMC Advisory Committee. In Living the Life, we catch up with Father Max, still pressing gas at 91. While in sports, National Stadium track resurfacing now complete. From Kingston, Jamaica, it's Wednesday, March 12, 2025. Thanks so much for making it CVM News at 7. I'm Nika Lewis. While the economy is impressive but vulnerable, and that's one of several observations recorded in the PwC's budget review published this morning. It welcomes measures to stimulate large-scale investments and economic growth, celebrated the cautious response to spending, but notes the importance of Jamaicans getting much-needed reprieve. Highlights of the 10-page budget review published by local tax advisory and auditing firm PwC Jamaica following the opening of the budget debates Tuesday were many. The document follows the finance minister's maiden budget contribution for the $1.26 trillion spend. Lauding Minister Favour Williams' presentation as energetic, the commentary stressed no new taxes as a sign of the country's positive fiscal position. The government's commitment to fiscal discipline also appealed to the experts. But it notes notwithstanding impressive fiscal performance, solid ratings and a positive outlook for the economy, Jamaica remains vulnerable to external shocks, as mentioned by Fitch Ratings in its February 2025 outlook. The review adds, there is no question that Jamaica is much more economically resilient today than it was, say, 15 years ago. It strikes a question against the massive debt to GDP of 147%, now reduced to 67%. Would Jamaica have managed the COVID-19 pandemic if it had hit in 2010 instead of 2020? However, there is concern surrounding natural disasters, global tensions, sanctions, wars, and climate change, a persistent foe. When Minister Williams announced the GOJ's plans to repeal and replace the 2013 Income Tax Relief for Large-Scale Projects and Pioneer Industries Act to make it more fit for purpose, to secure a $1 billion tourism investment, that too was welcomed. The team outlined the act in its current form has not been successful in attracting large-scale investments to date. Meantime, shifting to one of the most popular announcements made by the minister, the planned 3-year increasing of the personal income tax threshold from $1.7 million up to $1.8 million come April, then $1.9 million April 2026, and $2 million in April 2027. The PwC reports it's a popular but expensive measure. The experts say it will create greater challenges for employers who will be required come April to make mid-year adjustments to payroll systems. Taxpayers filing return will also need to work out composite annual tax-free thresholds for the year. The report notes the increases will result in a revenue loss of $13.97 billion and approximately 28,880 people coming off the tax roll. It states it remains to be seen how the PIT threshold increase will be funded over the 3 years. It's also noteworthy that elections are constitutionally due by September 2025 and could see administrative changes to the country. Regarding key measures affecting the General Consumption Tax GCT, including a reform to the GCT rules on electricity to residential customers, the report also heaped praise on the minister, adding it will bring welcomed reprieve for residential customers from 15% to 7%. It adds the prepaid regime will encourage households in targeted communities to formalize consumption and equitably spread the utilities service cost. Still gauging reactions, social and political commentator Michael Williams now joins us for a quick critique of the minister's presentation and his expectations for the remainder of the debates. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Nika. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. We welcome you again. So you've been tracking the budget debates, but what did you make of Minister Williams' presentation? Did she hit or miss?
I am quite unimpressed. I didn't expect much, except that I knew that there would be some pork or some announcements of pork.
What is pork?
I'm in an election year. You need to excite the electorate, especially PAYE voters, that you're doing something for them, and the offer of $2 million threshold was pork.
Okay.
The question for me is how will we pay for it? What taxes will be levied? I heard the talk about no taxes. No new taxes. But I'm sure that there'll be a supplemental budget somewhere down the year, because this budget doesn't seem real.
You want to expound on that? Before that, though, I'm going to just wrap up this quickly because we have little time. The opposition spokesman on finance will be making his presentation tomorrow at 2 p.m. What are you hoping he will say?
I am hoping that the challenge to the government will be that the time has come for us to end the income tax regime, and deal with consumption. Drop income tax completely, because it is a PAYE.
All right. Well, Mr. Williams, we'll see if any of them take you up on that.
Consumption.
I'm sorry.
I believe the time has come for us to stop using, for example, the tax that is placed on gas, for example, needs to stop going to the consolidated.
All right. Well, Mr. Williams, it's definitely a conversation to be had later on, but thank you so much for your time. We had a little time. Political and social commentator there, Michael Williams, reacting to the budget debate so far. And coming out of that budget presentation we spoke about earlier, the authorities in the field have weighed in. Now, two of them shared their views on CVM's very own lead story. Let's have a look.
So I think that to that extent, I think the pronouncement and the announcements themselves will not necessarily move public opinion. I think what Jamaicans are more concerned about is the operationalization of the budget, the extent to which, over the next several months or so, they will begin to see tangible changes in their lives from the operationalization of the budget. So we'll see the extent to which people feel that, the things that are announced are having an impact on their day-to-day lives and how they interact with the economy and etc. So that is what I am looking for, more or less.
Folks have seen the finance minister in action. She was uncharacteristically bold. One would wonder if she would have the pizzazz that would have approached Dr. Clark, but let us remember, he himself learned how to do that. That is not his natural state.
Correct. He
learned how to present a budget in with that sort of flamboyant and that flair that Damian mentioned. So yes on that. But on the other hand, I think it's important that we remember that what she did was from a Labour Party boilerplate.
Shifting gears now, with the recent KSAMC Advisory Committee now ratified, its true purpose and member selection still raises questions for some. Adrian Williams shares the details.
Controversy loomed over the input of an advisory committee to the Kingston and St Municipal Corporation, KSAMC. With this committee now ratified at Wednesday's meeting, Chairman for the corporation, Andrew Swaby, warns that it was not a partisan move, but for transparency.
So it is not to take away the role of the councillor. It is to make sure to keep what to say to the citizens. Because this came out of the Nettleford Committee, you know. And it was the Nettleford Committee that informs the Local Governance Act of 2016.
Members of the advisory committee will give advice on dealing with local governance acts. However, they do not have the final say.
They will do an assessment and a report to the table right back in this council. So it is not to say that they are taking our rights away. What it allows us to do, it allows us to capitalize on some expertise and skills that we don't currently have in the local authority.
However, Deputy Mayor Delroy Williams thinks the membership of this committee was not carefully selected.
In context, I felt that it would have been far better for us to exclude persons who were playing spokesperson's role in a political party. I don't think we should have engaged those persons. In the current climate, in my view, I think to have the spokesperson, the junior spokesperson's person on finance as a vice chair of that committee, I don't think it's a wise decision.
Adrian Williams for CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues in a moment.
Discover an easier way to pay your taxes. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. You'll get a 1-month payment holiday, up to 55 days interest-free, and unlimited rewards points on every dollar you spend. Don't have a Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card? Apply online for yours today. Conditions apply.
Digicel, live life your way, no free rewards. Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua, with round-trip flights on us. Every week you could win exciting prizes, event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Episode 7.
Next Gen Impact International Ministries. I want to start it that way then.
We have to build that bridge to serve the community, maintaining some godly principles that will shift the next generation.
This is the first time we're doing an episode where the church is actually brand new.
I can't wait.
Make we head out and see what is in store.
Platforms escape.
Thanks so much for staying with us. Jamaica's murder rate is on a downward trend, but while homicides are decreasing, another crisis is stretching the country's resources thin. Road crashes. Shante McNeil joins us on set with more on this unsettling development.
Well, fewer murders, yes, but more pressure on hospitals. While crime-fighting efforts show progress, doctors say road crashes are creating a major burden on health facilities, putting a strain on emergency rooms, and with limited resources, this malady has greatly compromised other patients.
Jamaica's murder rate continues to fall. From January to March 8, murders dropped 26% compared to last year. 145 recorded killings versus 196 in the same period of 2024. The Jamaica Constabulary Force touts the progress, and so does the government. Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang, speaking at a Jamaica Labour Party meeting in North Central Clarendon, credits an approximate $10 billion annual investment in law enforcement for the decline.
Last year, since we got a 20% reduction, we have started on a downward trend February, this month. we can record the lowest number of homicides, the lowest number of murders in the history of Jamaica for the last 30 years. Check the numbers. Your government led by Andrew Hollis, has provided the police with the tools, equipment, and recruited the numbers that we can say to you, we will restore order.
But while murders fall, another crisis persists: road crashes. Clinical Director at Cornwall Regional Hospital, Dr. Delroy Frey, warns that collision victims are straining the healthcare system.
And usually these victims are usually head injury, chest, abdomen, major long bone injuries. And these patients take considerable resources to really treat them, rehabilitate them, and get them out of hospital. So again, it's bleeding our health budget.
From January 1 to March 12, road fatalities dropped 21%, 18 fewer deaths than last year. But Dr. Frey says the issue isn't just fatalities. Crash survivors flood hospitals, consuming critical resources, far outpacing gunshot victims.
Hospital bed space is occupied by these patients, and they are long-term stay patient. So patient who has, medical illness that needs to be hospitalized, we have to prioritize in how we admit them. We have to be looking at how we have to send them out to other hospitals in order that they can be treated. So it uses our bed space as well.
He urges road users to slow down and be patient, warning that reckless driving endangers lives and overwhelms hospitals.
And the truth is, if you don't act responsible, when your family member comes here and have to sit and wait to get a bed, it's not nice. So the responsibility is all of us. In the long run, it's going to affect all of us.
Shante McNeil, CVM News.
The man accused of killing 2 women and injuring a child in Mandeville, Manchester last month faced the parish court today. This evening, he remains in custody while his lawyers are plotting their next move, bail. Trisha Gay Kelly reports.
Patrick Thompson, the licensed firearm holder who allegedly shot and killed 2 women and injured a child at a wake in February, is now facing the court. The incident, which occurred in Mandeville, Manchester, was brought before the parish court on Wednesday, marking the suspect's first court appearance. Thompson's attorneys are Samoy Campbell and King's Counsel Peter Champagny.
It is the intention to make an application for bail on the next occasion. But as one would appreciate with matters like these, where there are a number of statements, it would not be prudent to make an application for bail today without having access and making an assessment of the statements that the prosecution have. They have a duty to disclose, and when we get those statements, then we will be in a position to make an application for bail on behalf of Mr. Thompson.
In the interim, the lead attorney is pleading with the public to allow good sense to prevail.
The matter is now before the court, and any social commentary on the social media platform is likely to be injurious, not just to the rights of the accused, but also persons concerned. In short, what we are appealing for is for the matter to be ventilated in court and not elsewhere. We don't want any prejudice to arise one way or another.
As the case is still in its early days, Champagny says the details are limited at this time.
Against that background, of course, neither myself nor Ms. Campbell would be in a position to comment publicly in terms of the allegations and the particulars surrounding the reasons for the charge for Mr. Thompson.
The 50-year-old suspect will remain in custody and will return to court on March 19. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
As the Jamaica Stock Exchange opens the stock market with the symbolic ringing of the bell, various industry players are making the push for more women in leadership positions. With looming concerns like the gender pay gap and lack of financial opportunities, the JC says more women at the decision-making table will be critical for greater economic empowerment. Courtney Lewis has more.
The girls can, in fact, take the corner office, as leaders at the Jamaica Stock Exchange made a push for gender equality as an economic imperative. Managing Director Dr. Marlene Street Forrest says despite strides to achieve such, studies show that it may take over a century to attain real gender equality, and we simply do not have the time.
In the Caribbean, where women constitute over 50% of university graduates but remain unrepresentative at the senior levels, urgent action is required to translate academic achievement into economic and financial empowerment.
The JSE boss pointed to studies stating that women-led companies also outperform their competitors by 25%. She challenges businesses and financial stakeholders to shape policies of equal access to financial products and opportunities, as when women succeed, businesses thrive.
We want some creative ways of unlocking that capital for women, gender bonds and all of those really sexy things that, women can gravitate to.
Even further, she encourages financial players to take more risks at the stock exchange.
We want to encourage women, as we have here today, that when you go to the IPO, take a little risk. Because in risk there is reward, but educated risk. And it is this wealth creation also that will push us even faster.
But Dr. Forrest wasn't the only one urging policies to build women leaders. Attorney and advocate Monique Long also weighed in on bridging technological divides and leadership capacity.
We want to equip women and girls to lead in AI and digital innovation, and we want to ensure their privacy and safety in digital spaces. We also want to continue to advance women's leadership and their spaces and decision-making capacities. We want women to be able to, engage in all decision-making spaces in their highest capacity and increase women's participation in all levels.
The charge comes at a time when the world pauses to commemorate International Women's Month, acknowledged in March. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
More to come right after this break.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
If you get $3,600 right now, where do I buy with it? If you never say Trans-Jamaica Highway shares, then we need to talk. We drive on the road every day, but how many of us actually own a piece of it? How many of us own the road? At NCB Capital Markets, we believe wealth should be for everybody. That's why we're proud to be the lead broker for the Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited offer for sale. There's up to $9 billion in shares up for sale. So whether you're a taximan, farmer, teacher, office worker, it no matter. All Jamaicans have a chance to invest. And the best part, the minimum buying is 1,000 shares. So you see the same 3,600 I asked you about earlier, you can use it to start build your future. So nobody wait till the traffic pile up. Download the prospectus and apply at goipo.jncb.com today, and we'll put you in the driver's seat on the highway to wealth.
Welcome back. The driving force behind this week's Senior captures enthusiasm and an enduring passion for living the life. More from Carolyn Brown.
Living the life defies time and laws, surpasses storms, hurricanes, wars, recession.
Good morning.
Good morning with a cup of tea.
Yeah, with a cup of tea. I'll do that in the mornings before I go anywhere else.
I agree. And I see your hat say blessed.
Yes, that's good. I'm full of blessing.
I believe.
That's God's work. And I can't go without blessing.
Blessed with charisma, good memory and drama, 91-year-old Carlton McLaren, the first of 3 children for his mother as well as the first for his father who had 4 children.
How me come by the name Father Mac? My father. He was like, let's say, me never know him. He like a white man, and him then call him Father Mac. And then name me, give me the pet name after him. I don't know if me favor him or what have you, I don't know him. So from that, everybody, all the little picnic, even big people, then they know me as Mr. McLaren or Carlton, and then go know Father Mac, and some of them, even big people, when they say Mass Father Mac.
Even his birth date in January 1934 and his birthplace in Jamaica are stories.
I was born on the 7th, but in old time days, call it like old time days, before they didn't register me. The time nobody now like know as you born hospital, you have that date. So when I grew up, afterwards, I was registered the 21st.
I've never heard of decoy.
Decoy? This name Decoy. But first it named Happy Return. And then named Maidenall, because Maidenall is down there, so Happy Return, our money in the name. So if you say, who know the place and history good, and you say Happy Return, then know say Decoy. If you say Decoy, then know say Happy Return. If you say Maidenall, then know say same. One little, for the post office is Guyshill. And Guyshill covers 3 parishes, part of St. Mary, part of St. Catherine, part of St. Anne.
Well, the St. Mary born says he lives a practical life.
I try to keep a healthy life. I'm very easy to love, easy to get on with, and people will even overrate me like a Benz car.
He just can't help himself when it comes to motor vehicles. Check out this self-made wallpaper on Uncle Father Mac's veranda, a visible representation of the classics he has the pride and joy of bragging about.
All of these are American vehicles, so you wouldn't find none of them in Jamaica. The vehicle, the amount of material one can make now, can make about 3 of these where they make paper. But these are solid. Yeah, when you hit them or they hit you, you stay hit. Yeah.
Have you ever driven any of those?
Yeah, man, let me get licensed with that, man.
He still remembers the day back in 1953 at the depot in Port Maria, St. Mary, as a bold teenager encouraged by older men instead of his own father, who doubted his ability.
When I went for license, and I called the name Reverend Riney and Tim Gray, them give me the money to pay the examiner at Port Maria for the fee, and I have the milk truck from a big man named John Madazil used to drive him there down too. And I have the milk truck and slow down and I hop up, go Port Maria. I have to walk a couple miles well because them never into Port Maria. I have to walk. The blessing now of Tim Gray, Reverend Riney, and earlier Henry say, I never forget this recitation. But it is not a recitation, it's a prayer. For health and strength and daily means, we bless your name, O Lord.
Amen. A conversation to be continued. I'm Carolyn Brown for Living the Life, CVM News.
We take a break. Stay with us.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. The T-Tag system reduces the amount of cash handled at our toll plazas and makes it safer for our staff and motorists at the toll booths. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Episode 7.
Next Gen Impact International Ministries. I want to start it that way then.
We have to build that bridge to serve the community, maintaining some godly principles that will shift the next generation.
This is the first time we're doing an episode where the church is actually brand new.
I can't wait.
Make we head out and see what is in store.
You see platforms to stay.
Welcome back to CVM News at 7. It's now time for regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. Trinidad and Tobago nationals traveling to the United Kingdom will now require a visa. That update from TTT News.
The Home Office has confirmed that the new policy went into effect today. In response, Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Dr. Amory Brown notes that the move is within the UK's rights as a sovereign nation. Though he noted this country has indicated its disappointment to the UK government on the new visa requirements, as it is a relatively small number of TNT nationals who are taking advantage of the ETA provision to apply for asylum after arrival. Up to Tuesday, TNT nationals could travel to the UK for up to 6 months without a visa under the Electronic Travel Authorization Scheme. The visa requirement comes in the wake of an uptick of Trinidad and Tobago nationals seeking asylum in the UK. The number has grown from an average of about 50 per year between 2015 to 2019 to 439 in 2023.
The Organization of American States Electoral Observation Mission is in Belize to witness today's general election. The 12-member team comprises of observers from 7 countries and will focus on key aspects of the electoral process. Minister of Political Reform Henry Charles Usher says that observers are a regular part of elections and that it's good for democracy. More from Love FM Belize.
We received some requests to be observers for this general election. We received requests from the U.S. Embassy, we received requests from the OAS, and I believe we received a request from the Speaker of the Barbados Parliament. I'm not sure what is the status of the request from the Speaker from Barbados, but yes, the OAS observer team will be here observing the elections. As well, the U.S. Embassy has a team that will be going around to the constituencies to observe the elections. It's a normal part of the election process, and it certainly assists in promoting our healthy democracy here in Belize to the rest of the world. They write reports as to how our democracy is, the fact that our elections are always free and fair, and that, we have a peaceful transition no matter what happens on election day.
And in international news, the captain of the Solon cargo ship arrested after a collision with a tanker in the North Sea is a Russian national. Humberside police said the 59-year-old man remained in custody after being arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. The Portuguese flag Solon and the US-registered tanker Stina Immaculate crashed off the East Yorkshire coast. A missing crew member from the cargo ship is presumed dead after a search and rescue operation was called off. We turn to the BBC.
These are the latest pictures coming to us from the North Sea, and here you can see the damage to that Portuguese container ship, the Solon, which is still on fire, flames and smoke coming from the decks. And this is the American oil tanker, which was carrying jet fuel for the US military when the collision happened off the coast of eastern England. The company that manages the tanker said an initial review showed environmental impacts of the leaking jet fuel had been limited. Let's hear from our North of England correspondent Rowan Bridge, who's in Grimsby. What are today's developments, Rowan?
Yes, well, as you say, a 59-year-old man who we now know to be the captain of the Salon and a Russian national was arrested yesterday. We had some news this morning that he remains in police custody at the moment. He was arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter, and that followed the calling off of the search for a missing crew member from the Salon who is assumed to have died at sea. The police say they are still working to establish the full circumstances of what happened in this crash. They are leading the criminal investigation into what happened.
And that's it for regional and international news.
Now for a glance at social media.
Hi, let's have a look at what's been heating up social media today. Jamaicans with annual earnings exceeding $1.7 million will receive a tax break of approximately $75,000 over a 3-year period. This comes after Finance Minister Delroy Williams announced an increase in the income tax threshold from $1.5 million to $2 million, providing relief to taxpayers and putting more money in their pockets. Social media users react to this. At @1bushika_ writes, "Una ball for better, and when una get it, una still a ball. As far as I can see, some of you don't use to progress." At Yannick XO posts, "I remember when this came into effect for salaries at $1 million, and I definitely saw a big difference in my take-home pay. This is great news." At Conway asks, "All the things read sound sweet, but one question, do they benefit the general public, the normal individual, the hardworking individual?" At Gillette Coley shares, "This means absolutely nothing to those already below the income tax threshold. It would sound good if living expenses were rolled back to what it was 5 years ago." At KB234 says, "I make $3 million a year. I guess me and my friends gonna suffer." At Tamar Tomlinson replies, "It means you will benefit up to the $2 million and you will be taxed above that. So yes, you will benefit." And that's what's trending online. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM Television on Facebook. I'm Courtney Lewis.
Stay with us for sports. Up next with Ronaldo Adams.
Episode 7.
Next Gen Impact International Ministries. I want to start it that way then.
We have to build that bridge to serve the community, maintaining some godly principles that will shift the next generation.
This is the first time we're doing an episode where the church is actually brand new.
I can't wait.
Make we head out and see what is in store.
Sports should be fun. Sports should be interesting. Sports should be entertaining.